You ever notice how the word business trip sounds harmless? Like a beige hotel room, bad coffee, a name tag, and someone droning on about quarterly growth. That's what she pictured when I kissed her cheek and said, "See you Friday." She smiled like she believed me. Or maybe she wanted me gone so badly that believing didn't even matter. I packed a small bag, just enough to sell the illusion. A blazer, 2 shirts, laptop. Left the house at 6:03 a.m. Kissed her temple like a man who still had faith. She smelled like coconut shampoo and something else I couldn't place. Something new. That was the first red flag, and like every idiot who wants to believe, I folded it neatly and shoved it in the drawer of my brain. Fast forward to 2 hours later. I wasn't boarding a flight to Chicago. I was sitting in my truck at the edge of Willow Creek, phone balanced on my knee, watching the green dot move across the map. Heard it. You ever track someone you love? It's not like in movies where you feel powerful. It feels like swallowing broken glass while smiling. She told me she had errands today. Errands. That was the word. Errands apparently start at a boutique hotel off Route 19. I stared at the building through the windshield. 3 floors, cream stucco, red awnings. I'd driven past it 100 times without a second thought. But now it looked like a crime scene waiting for tape. I gripped the steering wheel so hard the leather creaked. Not because I was going to storm in. That's what you expect me to do, right? Kick the door, drag someone out by the throat? No, I'm not 25 and reckless. I'm methodical, precise. That's what scares people like her, the quiet. I parked around back, behind a delivery van, and sat there for what felt like years, watching couples glide through the glass doors, laughing, pulling suitcases. I wondered if they lied to someone this morning too. At 10:47, her dot stopped moving. Room 214. Funny thing, I used to think hotel room numbers were meaningless. Now it's burned into my skull like a brand. I stepped out of the truck. The air smelled like hot asphalt and fried eggs from the diner next door. My heart was steady, my head clear. I didn't rush. I walked through the side entrance like I belonged there. Like I'd done this before. Because here's the truth. I have. Not in this context, not with her, but years ago, in other lives, when finding someone in a room like this didn't break you, it kept you alive. But that's a story for another day. The carpet was cheap, patterned with swirls to hide stains. The kind of place that tries too hard to look respectable. I counted the doors as I moved down the hall. 208, 210, 212, and then 214. I stopped. The air was different here. Heavy, like the molecules themselves were in on the secret. I lifted my hand toward the door, not to knock, not yet. That's when I heard it. Her laugh. Not the polite chuckle she gives neighbors. Not the forced smile laugh she uses at work events. No, this was the real one. The laugh I hadn't heard in years, the one that used to belong to me. And it wasn't alone. There was a man's voice. Low, confident. The kind of voice that doesn't have to try. Then her laughter again, rolling through the crack at the bottom of the door like smoke from a fire I didn't start. That's the moment the world tilted. You want to know what betrayal sounds like? It's not words. It's laughter. I stepped back, jaw tight, lungs full of concrete. I didn't kick the door. I didn't walk away either. I just stood there, one step from the threshold, and thought, this isn't the part where I lose control. This is the part where I take it back. You ever stand so close to something you can feel it breathing? That door was alive. I swear I could hear the pulse of the room behind it, the rhythm of 2 people who didn't know I existed one hallway away. Her laugh again, softer this time. Then a thud, maybe a heel dropping on carpet. My jaw flexed so hard I felt a vein twitch in my temple. This is where I should have walked, right? Be the bigger man. Let her rot in her own betrayal while I take the moral high ground. Funny thing about high ground. It's cold and lonely, and the view is just a better angle to watch them burn you. I slid my phone out. Camera ready. Not for me. For later. For when she plays dumb with those wide eyes. What are you talking about? You're paranoid. Paranoid doesn't come with timestamps, sweetheart. I crouched by the door, tilted the phone just enough to catch the crack under it. A sliver of the room appeared on screen, barely a glimpse, but enough. 2 silhouettes. Her hair unmistakable, even blurred by cheap carpet light. His hand flashed once. Tense skin, strong fingers, moving where they had no right to be. My thumb hovered over record, then froze. Not yet. Evidence is useless if it screams revenge. It needs to whisper inevitability. I pocketed the phone and walked, slow, calm, like a man going for ice. Past the vending machine, down the service hall, out the side exit. The air outside slapped me like cold water. even though the sun was beating down. The truck sat where I left it. Inside, the cab smelled like coffee and rage. I opened the glove compartment, pulled out the case. Black, matte, unmarked. Inside, tools that had nothing to do with fixing cars. Don't get ideas. I'm not here for blood. I've seen enough of that for 3 lifetimes. This isn't war. This is calculus. You don't shoot the problem. You dismantle it until it begs for the bullet. I took out the mic kit. Size of a quarter, adhesive back, long life battery. Planted 3 on my way up the first time. 1 in the vending alcove. 1 under the stair rail. 1 right outside 214, behind the fake brass number plate. Every word from now on. Mine. And the key card? That was easier than guilt. When the maid left her cart unattended at 11:15, I slid it out like I was born with sticky fingers. Years ago I was. Different context, same muscle memory. I sat in the truck again, card warm in my hand, and stared at the hotel like it was daring me. My pulse was steady, not calm, controlled. Control is an art. People think rage is loud. No, real rage is silence with a clock in its teeth. The clock said 11:42 when the audio feed crackled in my ear. You think he suspects? That was her. Her voice low, almost playful. No, the man said. A laugh in his throat. He's too busy with whatever old guys do on business trips. Old guy. That one hit. Not because it was true. I could still outpace him in a sprint and drop him in a chokehold in under 6 seconds, but because she laughed at it. Loud. Like she'd been holding that laugh in for years and finally let it breathe. You ever feel your life peel off its frame? Like a painting ripped from the wall. That was me, gripping the steering wheel, listening to my wife laugh at my obituary. I didn't rage. I smiled. Tiny, thin, razor sharp. Because that's when I knew she wasn't going to see me coming. Not today, not tomorrow, but soon. And when she does, it won't be a scene in a cheap hotel. It'll be an ending she never rehearsed. I didn't go back inside. That would have been too easy. Kick the door, scream, flip the table, give her a story where she's the victim and I'm the crazy husband. No, I wanted the truth laid out like a crime scene she couldn't explain, and I wanted to know who the hell he was. So I waited. Truck engine off. Windows cracked just enough to hear the faint hum of tires on asphalt. Every muscle in my body said move, but I stayed still. Still is harder than fast. Still takes discipline. At 12:19, the side door swung open. First him. Dark hair, fitted shirt, easy stride. The kind of guy who buys $80 haircuts and calls them an investment. He scanned the lot quick, like a man used to getting away with things. Then her, 5 steps behind, hair messy like she'd been laughing too hard. That laugh again, spilling out like champagne while she checked her phone. I gripped the wheel and thought, this is where I break his jaw. I didn't. I watched. Because sometimes the best hit isn't a punch, it's information. They didn't say goodbye. No awkward hug. No call me later. Just nothing. Like they'd done this before. Like this wasn't an affair, it was a routine. He climbed into a black Audi, tags from out of state. She slid into her Lexus, the one I paid for, and drove off like she'd just finished yoga. I let her go. For now. My eyes were on him. I tailed him 3 cars back. Not hard when you've done this for a living. Keep the rhythm irregular. Speed up, fall back, let traffic mask you. He never clocked me. 20 minutes later, he pulled into a lot behind a glass and steel building downtown. Law firm. Big one. I parked 2 blocks over, grabbed the camera from the back seat, and started shooting. Audi in the space. Him walking in, phone glued to his ear, grinning like the world owed him. Then my phone buzzed. Her name lit up the screen. I almost laughed. Timing, right? Hey, I said, voice level. Calm like Sunday morning. Flight land okay? She asked. All sweet. Like she didn't still smell like his cologne. Yeah, I lied. Just grabbing lunch before the next meeting. Oh good. Her tone brightened. I miss you. Miss me. That's rich. I stared at her boyfriend's back disappearing through the revolving doors. Same, I said. Talk tonight. Hung up before the bile in my throat made it into my voice. I took one last shot of the Audi's plate. Then I fed it into the app. 10 seconds later, the name flashed on my screen. Ethan Cole. Age 34. Senior partner at Wallace and Green LLP. Divorced. No kids. Address, Uptown Condo, floor 17. Nice. I sat there, the city hum wrapping around me, and thought, all right, Ethan, let's see what kind of man steals without fear. That's when the second twist hit. My earpiece crackled. The mic outside room 214 still live. And a voice I didn't recognize slid through the static. Not hers. Not his. Male. Different tone. Hard. Sharp like broken glass. Everything's in motion, he said. Pause. She's keeping him distracted. She. Keeping him distracted. And then, the line went dead. My hand froze on the wheel. My wife wasn't just cheating. She was running something. And apparently, so was I. The first rule, when you hear something you weren't supposed to, don't react. Not physically. Not even in your own head. Pretend the words are water and let them slide. But I couldn't. She's keeping him distracted. That line looped like a bad song, pounding against the inside of my skull. Distracted from what? Me? No. Whoever that was on the mic didn't mean me. They didn't even know I existed in this hallway game. I pulled the earpiece out slow, like it was wired to an explosive, and stared at it in my palm. My wife wasn't just cheating. She was cover. Cover for what? I fired up the laptop on the passenger seat, tethered to my signal scrubber. Pulled the feed again, kitchen mic this time. Dead air. No chatter. Whoever spoke was on a burner. Smart. Too smart for this to be about lust and bad decisions. So now I had two targets. Ethan Cole and whatever the hell my wife just signed herself up for. I tailed him again. Followed his Audi to a valet-only restaurant where the napkins cost more than my monthly phone bill. He tossed the keys, strode inside like the world had his name on it. Fine. Let him eat overpriced steak. My eyes weren't leaving that front door until I had more. While he was inside, I dug deeper. Ran his name through databases the Bureau doesn't admit exist. Ethan Cole, senior partner, Wallace and Green. Clean on the surface. Too clean. No traffic tickets. No offshore whispers. But then, one hit. A corporate shell in Delaware tied to a holding company in the Caymans. Classic wash. Shell companies don't scream infidelity. They scream black money. Which means my wife didn't stumble into this mess. She walked in eyes open. My phone buzzed again. Her name. Deep breath. Answer. Hey, you busy? Her voice was honey, smooth and practiced. Like the woman who used to read me grocery lists and giggle at dog memes never existed. Little tied up, I said, watching her boyfriend butter his bread through the window. I was just thinking about you, she purred. Bullshit. She was thinking about whatever game she was mid-play. Yeah? What were you thinking? That you worked too hard. Laugh. That laugh. Sharp, calculated, like a blade disguised as music. And that's when the Audi's door opened again. Ethan came out, but he wasn't alone. Another man. Gray suit, salt and pepper hair, face like it belonged on a Senate committee. They didn't shake hands. They clasped wrists, tight, like brothers in a secret war. I killed the call mid-laugh. Sat there, engine humming, mind racing. Ethan wasn't just a lawyer. He was a conduit. And that handshake? That was leverage. The kind that makes governments twitch. I snapped photos, zoomed, clear, time-stamped. This wasn't a love triangle anymore. This was an op. And my wife? She wasn't bait by accident. She was part of the hook. Which meant one thing. I was officially in the game. And if they thought I'd play defense, they've never seen what happens when a man loses everything but his training. I sat in the truck, photos still glowing on the laptop screen, like little paper cuts slicing at the truth. Ethan, my wife, and that handshake. You ever have a moment when everything you thought was solid goes liquid? This was mine. I zipped the laptop shut and felt the weight of my other life pressing against my ribs. The life I'd buried 12 years ago with a new name, a new mortgage, and a woman I swore was my safe harbor. Turns out she was a lighthouse pulling me toward the rocks. I dialed a number I hadn't used in 5 years. 3 rings, then a voice like gravel and bourbon. Brennan? Yeah. A pause thick enough to choke on. You're not supposed to exist anymore. Neither is what I just saw. Static. Then, where are you? Still local. For now? Talk. Not on this line. I killed the call, smashed the SIM on the steering column. Some ghost you don't wake unless you're ready for war. I drove home, lights off 2 blocks early, coasting on muscle memory. The house looked normal. Sprinklers ticking on the neighbor's lawn. A wind chime muttering in the distance. The kind of quiet people kill for. Inside, her perfume lingered in the hallway. That coconut note, sweet and sharp, the one that used to mean desire but now smelled like treason. I opened a dresser. Her drawer was neat. Too neat. Like a stage after the actors leave. I found what I needed in the lining of her jewelry box, a second phone. Slim. Burned smooth by use. Not her usual apps, just encrypted messaging with threads titled in code. Greenlight, Sparrow, Dawn Call. My hands didn't shake. They never do. I mirrored the data to a drive the size of a thumbnail and slid the phone back like nothing happened. Then I sat on the edge of our bed, staring at the wall, listening to the silence roar. She thought I was 2 states away, stuck in a conference room with lukewarm coffee and PowerPoint slides. She thought the man she married was soft now, dulled by suburbia. She forgot what I used to be. And here's the twist. When I opened those mirrored files, I didn't just see Ethan's name. I saw dates, accounts, flight manifests, and one line that made my blood freeze solid. Deliver him before Friday. Make it look accidental. Deliver him. Me. I wasn't just collateral. I was the goddamn objective. I leaned back slow, let the ceiling fan spin above me, and for the first time since I heard her laugh through that hotel door, I smiled. Because now the board was clear. The pieces were set, and if they wanted me gone by Friday, they just gave me 4 days to burn their entire world down. You ever share a meal with someone planning your funeral? That's what Thursday night felt like. She breezed through the front door at 6:43 p.m., a takeout bag swinging from her hand, and that perfect "I'm so happy to see you" smile painted across her face. Thai food, my favorite. A peace offering for a war she didn't know I'd already declared. Surprise, she said, kissing my cheek. Her lips were warm. Her eyes? Ice. I smiled back like an idiot in love. You didn't have to. You really didn't. Poison's cheaper than pad thai. We set the table. Plates clinked like tiny detonators. I watched her move, hair tucked behind one ear, nails painted crimson, phone face down like a guilty witness. Every little thing screamed scripted. So, she said between bites, how was the trip? The way she asked it, soft, curious, almost made me laugh. Like she needed to confirm the lie she wrote for me. Productive, I said. Closed the deal. Closed your boyfriend's jaw if I wanted to. She smiled, a flash of teeth, then went quiet. Too quiet. I know silence like some men know scripture. Hers wasn't comfort, it was calculation. Everything okay? I asked. Of course, she said, reaching across to squeeze my hand. Warm fingers, steady grip. If guilt was in there, it buried itself deep. Here's the thing about being hunted. The predator always tests the perimeter. She was checking mine, looking for cracks. I gave her none. Just chewed, nodded, even chuckled at her fake stories about traffic and yoga and a friend named Melissa who probably doesn't exist. But while my mouth smiled, my mind was unspooling her mirrored files like a film reel. Flight to Montreal. Offshore transfers through Shell Core tied to Ethan's firm. A timestamp for tomorrow, 10:15 a.m. My car listed on an itinerary that didn't have my name on it. Long day tomorrow? I asked casually, sipping water. She hesitated. Barely a breath, but I caught it. Just errands, she said. You? Same. I lied smooth as silk. After dinner, she showered. Steam curled under the bathroom door while I stood in the hallway, staring at her shadow behind the frosted glass. That laugh from the hotel echoed in my skull like a gunshot on loop. And that's when the decision locked in. I'm done waiting. I checked the mirrored feed on my phone. She deleted 2 messages since sitting down to dinner. One thread from Greenlight. Asset primed. Final window confirmed. Asset. That's me. The final window? Tomorrow. By the time she stepped out in that silk robe, I was sitting on the bed, smiling like a man with nothing to hide. Movie night? I asked. Sure, she said, curling against me like I was still her safe place. And as her head rested on my shoulder, I stared at the muted TV and thought, tomorrow, sweetheart, let's see who delivers who. The night before a kill is quiet. Always is. Whether it's a war zone or a cul-de-sac, silence sharpens the blade. She slept curled on her side, hair spilling over the pillow like nothing in the world was wrong. I lay there, eyes open, counting the seconds between her breaths. In another life, I'd have kissed that shoulder, whispered something soft. In this one, I memorized the way her chest rose and fell, because after tonight, everything changes. At 3:14 a.m., I slipped out of bed, phone in hand, barefoot on the cold hardwood. The garage smelled like oil and betrayal. My car sat there, gleaming under the single bulb. Perfect. Too perfect. I popped the hood, scanned every inch. Found it in 30 seconds. A cut in the brake line, so clean it could have been surgical. Wrapped in black tape like a bandage that lied. My wife doesn't know cars. Which means Ethan's fingerprints are all over this, metaphorically and maybe literally. I smiled. Nice try. I didn't fix it. I made it worse. Snapped the line completely, drained the fluid, and left the hood propped open. Then I texted her burner from a spoofed number. Package delayed. Adjust plan. Let them sweat. Next, I set my own board, pulled the spare key fob for her Lexus from the safe, planted a GPS ping on Ethan's Audi last night. Now I paired her car to the same system. By sunrise, I'd know exactly when they moved and where they planned to bury me. At 6:45, she stirred. I climbed back under the sheets like I'd never left. Her hand brushed my chest, warm, trusting. The theater of love, I thought. The best actors always win awards. Morning, she whispered. Morning. I kissed her forehead, tasting coconut and venom. Over coffee, she was all light chatter. Asked about my meetings. I lied easy. She told me she had a hair appointment around 10. That was the time stamped in her thread, 10:15, final window. Take my car, I said casual. Yours needs gas. Her eyes flicked up, just for a second, but that second was enough. She smiled. Thanks, babe. When she left, I watched her taillights fade and checked the tracker. Lexus heading north, fast. Then I switched feeds. Ethan's Audi lit up the same direction, 3 miles ahead. They weren't meeting for brunch. They were driving toward the old quarry, abandoned, remote, no cameras. Perfect for an accident. I tailed them. 2 cars back, then 4. Rain started spitting, slicking the asphalt like a warning. I killed my headlights and slid off the main road half a mile before the turnoff, cutting through the pines until the Lexus stopped on my screen. I got out, boots crunching gravel, the smell of wet earth mixing with exhaust fumes. Wind hissed through the trees like a secret too big to hold. Voices carried over the hum of engines. Hers, sharp now, not sweet. You said this would be clean. Ethan's tone was a hammer. It will. Where is he? Driving here, she said. Trust me, he won't see it coming. I stepped from the tree line, silent as a shadow, rain dripping off my hood. For 1 second, I almost wanted to laugh, because they were right. I didn't see it coming either. The click behind my ear told me that. Cold metal kissing my skull. A voice I didn't recognize whispering. Hands up, Brennan. Game's over. The barrel pressed against my skull was matte black, cold as a grave. Hands up, Brennan, the voice said again, low and calm. The kind of calm that comes with knowing the ending. Brennan. He used my real name. Not the one on the mortgage. Not the one my neighbors know. That told me 2 things. 1, this wasn't a random hitter. 2, the hole went deeper than Ethan's Audi and my wife's bad choices. Slow, I raised my hands, palms out. Rain slid down my wrists, dripped off my fingers. Behind me, I heard a boot scuff gravel, felt the press of a second presence. Ethan, most likely, watching like a man who thinks money makes him bulletproof. You've been busy, the voice murmured near my ear. That tracker stunt? Cute. Glad you liked it, I said evenly, my jaw tight. A sharp jab of the gun barrel shoved me forward. I stumbled into the clearing where headlights cut harsh white arcs through the rain. Her Lexus, his Audi, and her, standing there in that ivory trench coat like a storm didn't exist, arms folded, face carved from stone. Our eyes met. For a split second, something human flickered in hers. Guilt? Regret? No. Calculation. Hi, Jack, she said softly, using the name she'd only ever heard once, years ago, when I trusted her with a piece of my truth. Hearing it now was a blade twisting in my gut. You planned this well, I said, voice like broken glass. She tilted her head. It wasn't supposed to be like this. Sure it wasn't. Ethan stepped into the glow, rain streaking his perfect haircut. He didn't bother hiding the smirk. You really should have stayed retired, old man. Old man. Second time this week. These guys really needed new material. Why? I asked, ignoring him, eyes locked on her. Why me? She hesitated just long enough for the silence to ache. Then, because you're the only loose end. And there it was. Truth, naked and brutal. She didn't love him. She didn't hate me. This was logistics. A cleanup operation in designer boots. But Ethan, he couldn't keep his mouth shut. You married an asset, Brennan. Beautiful, loyal, and very persuasive. We used your clearance, your old networks, every ghost in your past to build a corridor. Billions moved through it. Clean. Untouchable. He grinned wider, teeth flashing like a knife. Until you started sniffing. The man behind me jammed the gun harder into my skull. Time's up. My wife. No, her. Took a slow step forward, rain beating on her lashes. She reached up, almost tender, and touched my cheek. Whispered so only I could hear. If you just stayed on that business trip, you'd still be breathing. You ever taste rage? It's metallic, like blood and lightning. And right then, I tasted all of it. But I didn't flinch. Didn't fight. Not yet. Because my left hand, the one they couldn't see, was curling around the small black remote in my jacket pocket. The one synced to the charge I planted under Ethan's Audi 20 minutes before they even knew I was here. Click. The explosion ripped the night open. Fire bloomed behind us, heat slamming like a fist. The gun wavered at my skull for half a heartbeat. Half a heartbeat was all I needed. I spun. Steel met bone. The shooter crumpled into the mud, weapon mined before his body hit. Ethan shouted something, didn't matter. The firelight turned his perfect smirk into a mask of panic. And her? She just stood there, eyes wide, rain and flame painting her face like some fallen angel. You should have killed me clean, I said, racking the slide. Now I'm awake. The fire was gone now, only a glow in the rearview mirror of my mind. Not real flames this time, just the kind that burn through trust until nothing's left but smoke. Ethan didn't lunge. Nobody died in a puddle of rain and gasoline. The only thing lying broken on the ground was every illusion I had about my life. We stood in the gravel clearing, the storm softening to a mist, trees swaying like silent jurors. She looked at me, not like a wife, not like a stranger, but like someone who finally realized the game was over. Say it, I told her, calm and cold. Say why. Her lips parted. A flicker of something, guilt, fear, passed through her eyes like a shadow in headlights. Because I had no choice, she said. You had 1,000 choices, I shot back. My voice didn't rise, it didn't need to. Quiet cuts deeper. You just picked the one that paid. Her chin dropped, rain tracing lines down her face. It wasn't about money. Then what? Thrill? Power? Or just being someone new for a while? She didn't answer. Couldn't. Because answers are for people who still have ground to stand on. And she was sinking. I stepped closer, not to hurt her, not even to touch her. Just so she'd feel it. The truth pressing in like cold air before a storm. You were supposed to be my safe place, I said. Turns out you were the exit wound. Her breath hitched. For the first time all night, she looked small, like the script ran out of pages and she forgot her lines. What happens now, she whispered. I almost laughed. Almost. What happens now, I said slowly, is simple. You walk away. Tonight. You don't call me, text me, show up on my street. You vanish like this never happened. Her eyes searched mine for something. Anger, mercy, love. Found none. And if I don't, then you'll find out, I said. Not as a threat. As a fact. She swallowed, nodded once, sharp and hollow. Reached for her keys like they were a lifeline, her hands trembling just enough to make me wonder if she finally understood the weight of silence. I turned, boots crunching wet gravel, the mist cooling my face as I walked toward the road. Behind me, her car door opened, then shut. Engine hummed. Tires whispered away into the dark. When the sound faded, I stood alone under the soft hiss of rain, breathing in the clean air like it belonged to me again. Tomorrow, I'd start the cleanup, the accounts, the names, the rot behind the curtain. But tonight, I'd just let the quiet hold me, the way she never could. You ever lose everything and feel lighter? That was me, standing there soaked and free, thinking one thing as the dawn cracked the horizon. She thought she ended me. But really? She just set me loose.